All right. So about this time of year, I tend to get a lot of questions about the awards program, and most of it for me has come with leader certificates and what leaders get. But I think it's important just to kind of get us all on the same page and review the achievement and awards program and what we here at the state offer and support. And then in turn, hopefully we can spend the end of this maybe having a discussion about other things you do in your county, or you can ask questions to each other about things you may want to look to incorporate into your county. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is today's agenda. So I'll talk about the state achievement program, then I'll talk about the awards that the state provides and how you can get them, and then we can discuss what you're doing in your counties. So this is a little bit blurry, but the achievement program is basically the seal program. So members can earn a green, silver, or gold seal for their work in the 4-H program. Those seals are worth points if you choose to keep track of them. So the points are a gold is worth 3, a silver is worth 2, and then a green is worth 0. Members can earn the honors club if through those points, I think they have to have 19 points. So how do they get their seals? So the seals are very basic, and I know this is probably a point of contention with lots and lots of people. All of us have different ideas of what those seals should look like and who should get those seals. However, this isn't judging member worth or judging if a member is a good member or a bad member or an active member or an inactive member. It's literally just an achievement. And so you could have a kid that only does a few things and they could still get a gold. You are more than welcome to offer additional awards or challenges in your county related to awards. However, the seal is really just is a member participating in 4-H and getting the most they want to or they can out of the program. So really be careful as you think forward of how you probably use the achievement program in the past, maybe, and how really the achievement program was meant to be used. And so basically, most members, if they turn in their record book and they have done something throughout the year, could probably get a gold seal pretty easily. So a green is that they enroll. So that's pretty easy. Most of our members already get a green because they enroll. They're in good standings. Basically, they haven't done anything inappropriate at a 4-H activity or meeting. They have at least one project on their enrollment, and they have an approved club. So literally when your kids enroll, even if they do nothing else throughout the rest of the year, there's no actual achievement under a green. It's basically just that they are a 4-H member. So they get a green seal. So don't think there has to be a certain criteria to get that green. It literally is just, we want to recognize kids for enrolling in the program and wanting to be involved, and whether or not they were able to carry through with that involvement doesn't really matter at this point in time. They get a green seal. And your green could look different. I'll show you kind of what we offer as green, but you can do whatever you want for these seals as far as what you give them. So the second one is the silver. So they have to meet all those criteria, the 4 that we just talked about under green. And then they also have to exhibit what they learned during the current 4-H year. It doesn't say anything about fair. So it could be at a club meeting. It could be at the library. It could be at a senior center. The exhibiting is just showing somebody besides their immediate family the things that they're doing in the program. So as long as they showed somebody somewhere what that looks like, that would be exhibiting. So don't think fair, although that's the easiest way for us to see that exhibit. It's just showing other people what they're doing. And then they provide documentation of goal setting, knowledge, skills gained, and participation in a project. And most likely that's going to happen. And I'm going to change this wording on the web. It says via the 4-H portfolio. That should say the 4-H record book. So this was taken directly from the internet. So I see Karen's on. So Karen, if you can work to change that word portfolio to say 4-H record book. I think we've gone back and forth in the past probably 5 years. So we need to update what we have written. Okay, and then the gold is the third standard. And I know a lot of times we see our gold members as our high achievers, but that's once again, not what this award is about. It's just about achievement, not high achievement. So for this, the members have to provide documentation of all essential elements of PYD and through the 4-H record book. And I'll show you exactly how you can do this so that you're not playing judge and jury to say, yes, this kid is a gold, this kid is a silver. We have that all kind of done for you, so you don't have to be the one making those decisions. Once again, I know like in Albany County, Mary Louise her committee offers awards for outstanding record books, or each project gets an award. So that's where you can use your record book as giving a higher award, but the achievement, the green, silver, and gold is just about if they met these criteria. So there, we created an achievement program checklist, and I sent this out. I'm going to stop sharing this screen and share a different screen. I can find it here. Here it is. Okay, so here is the achievement program checklist. I did get some feedback from some of you that it said 4-H online record book, and those of us who have been around more than 3 years call our enrollment system 4-H online. Those of us who are newer and our families that are newer probably have no clue what 4-H online is. But in order to alleviate some confusion, I changed it to say the online 4-H record book, just to make things a little bit easier so that people aren't super confused. And I will send this new one out to you. And Karen updated this on the web already. So basically, this is how you can do it. You put there, and you could have a volunteer do this. You could have your support staff do this. You could have some older members do this, because really there is no judging if it is correct or not. So basically, you're going to put their name in their club. And then it says, so here it does say 19 points, they'll receive a 4-H trip scholarship, and that is spelt wrong. So maybe, Karen, there's another thing you can help me correct as I read this. So it says, I don't know what that says, but it says scholarship worth $500. And so basically they're going to go, the green seals, you're just going to check those because they're probably going to have those if they're enrolled. And then you can go through and they met the green seals. And then you look in their record book under project, record, summary, and exhibit to make sure they have exhibited, and you can check that box if it's been filled out. You don't have to go and check if they actually showed at the fair. You're just going to assume that they're not lying to you. They have a goal for at least one project, so you can check the goals section. And then they've had a skill gain. And so that's where you're going to check the project record summary. So basically the project record section of the record book is going to show you if those 3 criteria were met. And so then they get a silver. If you move on and all those criteria are met, and then we can move on to the gold, then they have at least one leadership experience. This is kind of the essential elements aspect, kind of divided into categories. So they have at least one leadership experience, and you're gonna look in the My 4-H Year involvement report, and then 4-H leadership, and that's where you're gonna find that. Maybe you don't think their 4-H leadership is actually leadership. Maybe you want it to be something a little bit higher level. That's once again not what this award is about. It's not about judging if their experience was okay. It's about, did they do it? And so if they're saying they had a 4-H leadership experience, we're going to take them at face value and say, yes, they had a 4-H leadership experience. Same thing with community service. And so it's by 4-H Year involvement report, community service, participated in club activity and county activities, my 4-H Year involvement report, 4-H participation, and then has written a summary of the year. And so that's my 4-H Year involvement report, my 4-H story. So for the silver, you're checking their project record. And for the gold, you're basically checking their my 4-H Year involvement report. So if all those boxes are checked, then they get a gold seal. If they're missing a box, then they get a silver seal. Simple as that. Once again, there's no need for you or any leader, anybody to make a judgment whether it's a qualified or okay experience. This is just for achievement. Okay, so I'm going to go back. And once again, I'll send this to you again, and it is posted on the web, and Karen's going to fix my spelling errors. So thanks. So Kim, I don't know, her question was, is this just being scored on the record book? I don't know how else you would do it if you have a different way to do it in your county. Maybe you have them fill out a form that asks them these questions. However, if they're filling out their record book already, this is going to fulfill that. So it doesn't have to be their record book, but their record book is the easiest way to make that happen. So you're more than welcome to do a different way. But remember, it's not about judging or seeing if it meets a standard that you or your county has created. It's just that they actually did it, no matter what the worth is of that experience. So if they say their 4-H leadership experience was that they were in charge of the food drive at their 4-H club, you just say that's leadership. Don't say, well, I don't know if that's like a high enough leadership. I think that's kind of a lower leadership. And so I'm not really sure they deserve that. That's the part that we're trying to eliminate. And that you can do in your own county with your own awards if you want to. But this is really just a checklist to make sure that those kind of things are being done. Our Amber's question is, do educators look for all those things or are volunteers helping? I don't think it matters. The checklist helped to alleviate you having to do it all. And so I think you can just say here, go through and make sure that section is filled out. And if they fill it and say, I did nothing, obviously that's not a check mark, but they filled it out and said they did something. We're assuming that was a correct something that they wrote down. So you could have volunteers do it. You could have community members do it. You could have your junior leaders work on it for especially the younger kids. I don't think it has to be you. I think it could be anybody in your community who's willing to do record books. And then her next question is, are all counties doing the achievement program? My guess is no. However, if they want to get the honor scholarship and be supported in that, this is the way to make that happen. So whether or not you want to use this section in your record book and use the achievement program, that's up to you. But I know that there was a lot of concern when we offered the $500 scholarship that maybe not everybody was on the same page. So some counties were giving $500 to members just because, some counties were letting the members be in the honors club because they were their 9-year members or whatever. But this is a way to make the playing field even, to know that our goal is to see participation in the 4-H program over a long period of time. Well, a long period, that would be 6 years, 7 years. And if they do that, then we're rewarding them with a capstone experience to say, hey, you've been doing 4-H, you get why we're here, and now we'd like to send you to represent Wyoming at a national leadership experience. And so I think that that's what the achievement program was meant to be about. And so you may call it something different in your county, but what we support is this achievement program. If you want to do something different, then that's a different set of criteria that you're creating or you're doing within your county.
So Sarah, I have a question on this conceptually.
Okay.
So you were talking about like the purpose of it, and maybe I missed that at the very beginning. So the purpose is to recognize members for their long-term involvement in the program, not how well they do their record books over so many years. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so then what about all the members that I have that don't turn in record books that are very, very deserving?
So the question is, would they be interested in the achievement program? And if they are, then you are more than welcome to create your own form to say, tell me your project you're enrolled in this year. Tell me a goal you have for your project. Tell me how you exhibited this project. And so if you want to create a different form or a different method to fill that out, you're more than welcome to that. Or maybe you have interviews or whatever it is that you decide to do, that's fine. This is just the easiest way to make the achievement program happen within your county, because it alleviates you having to do the work. And so I look back on my own children, and if the achievement program and the record book is not important to them, then that's not important to them. And so they could get a green seal no matter what, even if they don't do a record book. So there's still options to get a seal. But if they want to, and it's making sure that they're participating over time. It's not that they just necessarily are high achievers or they're low achievers, that they're just participating and doing the work. And so this was created because for me, this is the easiest way to figure that out. And that may be a talk in Albany County. My reference point, because that's where my kids are involved, Mary Louise has 2 categories: judged record books and unjudged record books. And so the unjudged record books are the kids who really don't care about doing a record book, but are turning something in to get their seal. And so they may not go into depth, they may not add a ton of information, but they're making sure that all of these sections are filled out so that they could get these check marks to make sure that we show that they had achievement throughout the year. So I think it just depends on your own county. If this doesn't work for you, then finding out what does in your county is perfectly okay, as long as they're able to check these boxes. The reason that there's 2 levels on each of the boxes is that way you can see where you would find it if you're looking in the record book. So that way you can reference that to your 4-H families if you try to have them understand why they're filling out the record book.
I have some water muddying things that happen. Okay. So I like it conceptually, that it's like a checklist. However, in reality, a lot of people are not filling out the record, or they're not filling these out correctly. So, I mean, if I'm just going by the checklist, somebody forgets their goals, they don't even make the silver seal, even if they fill out the rest of it, so I'm going to be like, well, I mean, really, I know they're involved. I know they do a great job. So on a case-by-case basis, I can be like, well, yeah, but then it is still a judgment call. And the other thing is, some of them will, I don't know if anybody else has this, but I have quite a few people who will either completely not do the involvement report or completely not do the project report. They will mix them up, and it's just a communication thing. We work on it every year. It's gotten better. But if they only have the My 4-H Year Involvement Report, and they think then they're done because they have their story, they talked about their year, they have no silver seal criteria met. And again, like, I know what they did. I'm not worried about it. I'm glad to give them a gold or a silver, but it's not totally cut and dried.
Yeah, and I think that's this process in general. I also think what you may find, Glenn, is that in their 4-H story, they may answer all the silver components. And so if you're willing to hunt and peck for all of that, again, if your county that works fine, I think that my concern is that we just give them a silver because we know they're a good member. Is there some type of documentation or showing that happened? And so their 4-H story could write down what they exhibited, that they set some goals, and the summary of what they did just as easily as the project record. Once again, this is the easy way for people to kind of see what that looks like. And so I think you're right, a case-by-case basis is best. But if members are choosing to completely ignore the record book, then this probably isn't a driving force as to why they're in the 4-H program. And so maybe the seal part isn't a big deal to them. And so they get the green seal and they are okay with that. And so I think that that's kind of where I struggle too, is if they're not filling out the record book, then maybe they're just not a kid who cares about the idea of getting an award or being awarded. And so that's part of it too. And then just going back to the chat, because we are recording this, I'd like to read the chat messages so that people know what people are saying. So Kim asked Mary Louise if she thinks that having a non-judging and a judging make it easier for families, that she gets more enrollment. And Mary Louise said, I think so. And I would, as a parent, I would completely agree. There's way less pressure to do something well if I know that I can just turn it in to get it turned in to make sure that I'm able to achieve these things. And so I think that would be something that maybe, I don't know if Mary Louise wants to talk or if she thinks that.
Well, I think it helps some, but I also think still some of it is like some observation, because some people are still not going to do the record book. You know, they're procrastinators like me. They run out of time. Or there's some people that won't turn it in because they don't think they've filled it out well enough. You know, so like there's still people that were not getting. I think their record book is the easiest way to do this achievement stuff, but I still think some of it comes down to interacting, you know, your kids.
And then Emily's comment right after that is she disagrees completely, but that's okay. So Emily wrote, there are many members I don't know in our county, so I think it's too hard for me to make awards based on what I know. And that's kind of why we created this, was to alleviate that, especially with all our turnaround. I think that really doesn't help our members to be able to have some fair stuff. But I think, Glenn, the other thing is if someone's missing their project, if you're willing to take the effort and you know your kids and someone's missing that, then a phone call or an email to say, hey, I noticed you didn't fill out your goals page. Can you send me your goals? Is fine. And then Kim said the online record book has issues. Agreed. However, you can print the things out and they can fill them out on paper form if they want to. Or like I said, you could do a questionnaire via email where people could just send you the answers to these questions and you could use that also. There doesn't necessarily have to be the record book. The record book is just the easiest way to show how this lines up. And hopefully long-term, this will become the standard. Remember, this is new. New stuff is hard for everybody. And so I think that if this becomes the standard, then we don't have to worry about some of these things that are coming up now. As far as how things go. And so if you've created a process, as long as you're not just saying, well, I know that Mary Louise, she does a great job, so I'm going to give her a gold. Glenn, I didn't see him at that one thing. And so I think he gets a silver. I think that's what we're trying to eliminate at this point in time, is that where it, because it comes a judgment call on your part, and there's something concrete that you can then use to award these kids, especially since there's now this $500 honors scholarship that goes with it. And so I think the request from the awards committee was to make something that was a little bit more concrete. So in turn, that we have the opportunity to make sure that it's a level playing field for everybody in the state. Okay.
So I would like to add something if I could.
I would love for you to add something, Warren.
Thanks. So we've seen this example just recently, right? We have, oh, what do we have? 30 kids traveling on international trips, and during parent orientations, some of the parents have said, hey, because what we did is the foundation offers some scholarships just for travel. And then some of the parents asked, do the Honors Club scholarships also apply? For example, in this case, the trips to Ireland and to Belize. Well, so of course, then some of the other parents are on and hear that are like, what is this Honors Club scholarship? Somebody tell me more about that. So then they want to all of a sudden get involved with, there's some money involved. So that's just kind of a scenario. So the one thing that I will add is that we never really intended for the extra burden or extra work to kind of be on our educators, right? That's why we kind of did it through the record book. However, if there's a 14-year-old and they haven't turned in any record books, if they want to come into your office and sit down and tell you all of their goals and all their community services they did over the years, great. But my point is I would put kind of the burden back onto the kids. If you want to create something that they could submit, that's perfectly acceptable, and that's something that you could choose to do. But I don't think that's something that you have to do, right? If they've chosen not to complete the record book, but still want to get in this Honors Club, that's something that I think that the burden could also be on them to provide some documentation or some whatever, however they want to do it, to you, to then you can award those. That would also be if there's any kids that transfer into your program that haven't been involved, maybe in another state or another county, and they want to come in and show what they've done in the past years. That's something that we can always do and go back and award them. But don't feel like that you kind of have to create something new or create a system or do something completely different just because that's something that they chose not to do their record books. But we will accept them in many, many different formats and ways, as Sarah's talked about previously. So that's just kind of a comment that I want people to think about. And really, this is over 7 years is what they have to be involved with and to get into the Honors Club. So it's not something that they can just do over a year or two and be in and be done. So there's my thoughts, my comments.
Mary Louise, go ahead.
I get what you're saying, Warren, but I also, from hearing this conversation, I also think that we're having to justify a little bit the points or the seals that we're giving because of those that aren't doing them. So say we have a young person that's been in 4-H for 6 years and basically all they've done is sign up. I mean, probably because their parent has made them. So then that parent begins to hear that they can get money for different things and stuff. Like, I feel like you're asking us to almost CYA ourselves.
So that's not the message I heard, but maybe I'm wrong. I think what Warren's saying is it's not your job to create something that helps them get a gold seal. It's your job to just judge what's there and move on. And if you have a family that literally is finding stuff out, it's probably a family that's not just the green seal people, because why would they be engaged at a higher level? And so
I'm not hearing that from Warren. I'm hearing it from you. Like,
oh, that's what I got from Warren's that he just mentioned. That's what
yeah,
I heard.
No, I get. Like, I think what Warren is saying is truly what it was developed for. But I kind of think this checklist and everything is almost, it's a help, but I also feel like it's also to help us for those 4-H moms that tend to take hides sometimes. I don't know. I think,
Yeah, I guess I kind of see what you're saying, Mary Louise. I mean, we don't want to, because if you know that they really haven't been involved, but then the parent comes in and they're like, oh yeah, they did everything. And, you know, we won our $500. You know what I mean? Yeah, I guess I kind of understand that. But from my thought processes is, yeah, our format has been, here's the requirements. If you can show, document, tell me how you've met these requirements, then great. Give them the money. If they can't, well, then that's kind of where we're at. So, I mean, I know we're trying to make it easier, but maybe we're making it difficult at the same time, especially for those that aren't doing record books. If they're doing record books, it's really simple because that's where they've documented all of these things. I think that's probably the biggest thing. So I guess, yeah, I don't want to put people in the honors club if they really haven't necessarily achieved that. So proof, yeah, sure, but it can be verbal, it could be in document written, it could be however. I guess maybe that's where I'm thinking that they could do, but it's still on the kid to kind of have to tell them and say, here's how I met these requirements.
Sorry, so that goes back to my initial question, wherein you said they don't have to turn in record books. So how many people do it based on not turning in record books? I had probably only a fourth of my members turn in record books this year, and there's members that deserve getting up into that honors club, but don't do the record books for many issues.
Yeah, I think in that case, then if they want to be in the honors club, then they still need to, it's kind of on them to share with you. I mean, I don't think it's fair to you to remember all of the kids, be like, oh yeah, they've done all this over the years, right? Because like I said, there's 7 years worth of program involvement that we're looking for, a minimum of 7 years. So I still think that's something that's on them, that would come there and say, oh yeah, this is what I did over those years to warrant it, earn it. So I guess there probably still needs to be something, like I say, but it could be verbal, it could be written, it could be something.
I almost think it needs to be tied to the record books, because if we open the can of worm of, yep, you can come in and talk to us, we're going back 7 years to give them $500. If you're going to do, I think it needs to be tied to one or the other.
So I think Glenn's comment in the chat kind of sums all of this up to help us all know what we're doing. And he wrote, another aspect of this is the fact that we have to and this is, I'm paraphrasing, but basically re-talk to our members, leaders, councils about how we're distributing gold, silvers, and greens, because we've probably been doing it differently in the past. And so what those seals mean. And so I think it's a shift around understanding, because it's been done one way for years, and really when that $500 was added, there was a lot of uproar of how do we make sure this is fair. And so I tend to agree with Shar, but once again, I'm not going to say that's how you have to do it, but I think this wasn't created to put a burden on you as an educator. It was created to have a award system at a higher level. And if you want to award those kids in your county, Kim, that are doing great things, locally, I think that you probably already have a system that works for that. And if you were using the Honors Club as that wasn't why it was designed. And so I think there's this idea that we have to have some type of accountability for young people. And if they want to be in the Honors Club and they want to get these seals, then go in and fill out those 6 sections of record book, or print them off and have them fill them out on paper if it's the online aspect is the problem. Because all those forms are printable and they can just go and fill out those sections to be able to show you that they're achieving, or they could come in and do an interview and fill them out while they're sitting there. But I think it's really hard to be the judgment call for those aspects, because some of you may know your kids really well, and some of you may only know half your kids really well, and some of you may not know any of your kids because you've only been there a year. And so I think the hard part is that I get, Mary Louise, that you know your kids, because I know you know my kids, and I know that you're with them all the time, but you're probably 1 in 5 that have been here longer than 4 years. And so I think it's really like, it may work for you, but we have to create a standard at a state level that works for everybody. And this is the easiest way to do that because we're trying to encourage the idea of an entire state record book. And I know that some people don't like the Z Suite record book, and I get that, but I think there's ways around that because everything is printable, or you can use those same questions in a different format if you want to in your county. But I also think it's not right to ask you to make those judgment calls, especially for our staff. I mean, those of you who are kind of talking about this have been around for 5 years plus, but we have tons of people who haven't. And we have to create a system that when someone new takes over that position, that we can say, this is how we get to the Honors Club, because I think otherwise we have so many different people doing so many different things and our turnover is so high that it makes it really hard for our new staff to be able to acclimate to what's going on. So, and Emily's comment too goes back to the one is that's not fair for us to make those judgment calls because, you know, and I think a great example of this is Warren's had people go on international trips and their 4-H educator was like, oh, I didn't even realize they were in 4-H. And so I think, you know, they're enrolled, but they don't do anything. So every kid's experience is different and may be happening at a different level. And so the record book is literally the easiest way to make that happen. And maybe it's just a communication tool that the record book needs to become more of like, don't fill out the whole thing. If it's too hard for you, fill out these 5 sections so that we can see, or these 5 places, so that we can see that your involvement is achievement in those different seal areas. So I totally understand the want to give kids that do well a gold seal because you know they're doing well. But once again, is that fair to every other kid? And is that fair to every other kid in every other county? Because this is a state program versus one in your local county.
This is Linda from Goshen County. And while I'm not an educator, I'm at the front desk. Everybody's in, and I am always surprised how many of our members don't truly understand the Honors Club. I had somebody didn't even know about it yesterday. And I'm thinking, I don't know about the rest of you. I agree that the record book should be standardized to a degree throughout the state, because then if it's not, it becomes a very subjective decision. But on the other hand, I think our communication across the board has got to be a little more consistent. We have a lot of new members. We have new leaders. And I don't think the message is consistent any longer because some of our old leaders are saying one thing. Our new leaders don't really fully understand it. They don't get the message to the members. So I can tell you, being at as a front desk person, I would love to have things a little more standardized. And I think I try to be kind of the messenger just to reinforce everything that Megan says and that the program says. So that's just from my perspective as I'm talking on a daily basis to everybody walking in. I was so flabbergasted to talk to people that didn't even know what an honors program was. So I thought, okay, I got to figure out a better way to get the message out. That's just my 2 cents.
Yep, and I think that's what we're working towards, Linda. I think that's the goal of some of this, is to create that consistent message. Amber asked how many counties require record books. Amber, my hope is none, honestly, but I probably am wrong. The goal of this is, once again, if this is important to kids, then they'll do it, or their parents. And if it's not, then there shouldn't be a requirement to make them do that. But I don't know if anybody wants to answer if they require record books in their county. I think there's a couple. I don't know which ones they are. Warren may have a better grasp on if there is, because he's been here longer, but I don't know any. I think at one point Niobrara did, but other than that, I haven't heard of any others that do.
We do.
Okay,
We
just
don't
kidding.
have this problem with achievement night or achievement program, and so that's why I was wondering.
So Amber, if they don't do a record book, what's the consequence?
Honestly, if they're turning in record books, they're involved. Those that aren't turning in record books aren't involved. And so they're just getting a membership. They get the green seal.
So there's no requirement, like you don't kick them out of 4-H or, okay.
No,
Yeah, that's what I mean, because like, I think ours is the expectation that you do them. But like, you can't require them because you can't kick them out
Kick
of
them out of
program.
4-H. The consequence is what's the consequence in the end? So it sounds like more you're just asking them to do them sternly versus a requirement.
we probably don't pay things like we're supposed to. I know we don't, but it is working for us, so we leave it alone.
Well, I guess though, my question though, Sarah, is that there are some clubs that require them.
So I would highly suggest those clubs call me. and I mean, you shouldn't require them. There's no, I mean, they can highly suggest they do them, but requiring them to me is concerning. And I would like to know why they require them. And then in turn, what they're doing for members that aren't doing that. Are they kicking them out? Are they telling them they can't be in 4-H anymore? Because then that would be against the chartering paperwork that they've agreed to. So if you have clubs that are requiring them and it's a concern or it's a problem, let me know. And I'm more than willing to have that discussion with that club leader instead of you having to have that, or we could have it together if you have clubs that are requiring them. Because I think that's a concern. So I don't know what else I can do besides put them on probation and say, hey, listen, get your lives together. But that's probably about the place we're at if it's a concern for members. All right. I'm going to keep going, but we can always come back to this if you have other thoughts. And I was just reading the comments that Megan said she has some clubs who are like Mary Louise's that hold expectations on submission, and that Sheridan has some with livestock related stuff. And that probably is sale related, which comes into a whole nother issue that would be another 3-hour Zoom. So we could talk about that some other time. So these are the things that you see on your screen are the things that we will provide at the state level to you for no cost. Because we reinstated or we're revamping the achievement program. Last year, I know there was some talk that we were getting rid of seals. However, if this is the way we're gonna do things, then we need to offer seals as an option. Currently, they're not making them anymore. So once we use up our stash here at the office, we'll have to figure out a way to order different kinds of stickers. So if you don't need them and you have a whole bunch laying, which I know some of you are there, if you're hoarding a bunch in your office, please don't order more just because they're free. Because once again, like we're getting to the point where they're not available, but when they don't become available, Karen and I have been working not successfully, but trying to find something similar that can be printed. So we did order out a whole bunch more, I think golds, because they're still being offered from National 4-H, but we don't have a ton left. So also I know like Sarah Fleener just sent me all of her seals because she's not using these stickers, she's doing something different. So if you're not specifically giving out these stickers and you're like giving them a certificate or just like a woohoo, or you give them a pencil and a cup and a backpack for those seals, that's fine. Just know that we will take those back, don't throw them away. So the other thing that we will give you are leader certificates for your first year leaders. Once again, I guess last year we took that away. So that's been reinstated per everybody's request. And then your leaders 5, 10, 15, etc. So you will get an email from Karen today because she's going to send it out as soon as this is over. It's already written and ready to go. That basically has the order form for these items. So you will need to give us the names of the first 5, 10, and 15 year leaders that you want to get certificates for, because I've also heard in the past that we print them and then half those people aren't even in 4-H anymore, especially with our 1 years. So if you could let us know the people that you would want those for, Karen will get them printed and then signed by Jonathan and Kelly and sent out to you for your awards program. You can also request Honors Club certificates, which also comes with either a tie tack or a necklace with the clover on it. So they get that. And then once you give us their Honors Club name, Karen sends them a letter basically explaining the $500 that they get. And then Karen keeps track of all of those so that she has a list. So if you're looking to know if a kid used their money or if they're actually on the list, I believe we talked about the fact that it's posted online, so you can go look to see who's in the club, but I don't think online it says who's used their money or not. That would be a Karen question. So these are the things that we provide. We don't provide anything else. I can work to help you with other things, but these are the things that you'll be able to get through the email that Karen will be sending out today. And we also offer a couple other awards that people don't necessarily always take advantage of. So we've been offering monetary awards to clubs for the past, I believe it's been 2 or 3 years. So this, I think, is year 3. And we give awards to clubs who participate in community service throughout the year and educational events. And I'm trying to do the best I can to blast Facebook and let people know that these are available. I'll try to send an email out, maybe with the attachments of the paper application and a link to the form stack, so that if you have clubs that don't use Facebook, they can still choose to be involved with this. And so basically, if they're doing a community service, they report it to on Facebook, or they report it on our online or paper application. We basically put their name up and then a brief summary of what they did. And then I send it out to 5 or 6 people at the end of the year. We do give one for the most. So if a club did 12, they're probably going to win one of them. And then we don't want to make it just for clubs who do the most, because we know we have lots of small clubs that are doing great work that maybe can't do something every month. So we also award for creativity or most impact on the community. So this becomes the judgment call that we're avoiding with the last thing. But basically, I have 5 or 6 people that kind of give me their feedback, and then 5 clubs for community service and 5 clubs for educational activities get awarded a $200 check. We haven't had a ton of participation. It's usually the same clubs because they know about it and have gotten the award. And so we're doing the best we can to make that more prevalent. And so there are groups on Facebook, so they have to join the groups. And then the cool thing about it, you can tell your leaders, is that there's great ways to get new ideas for things to do in your club meeting. So not only are we awarding clubs, we're also sharing resources. So it's kind of a cool deal. And then I think I sent an email out about 2 weeks ago to the Salute to Excellence Award winners. I have been here, I'm on year 7 now, and I have yet to see all of these given out in a year. So if you have a leader who has 10 years or less of service, which we all have, and a leader with 10 more years or more of service, you can nominate them and they get a pretty nice plaque. Plus we offer them the opportunity to come to Showcase Showdown. We take them out to eat, offer them a hotel room for the evening to thank them for their service. And we do pick one overall winner for the whole state, and then one for each Northwest, Northeast, Southwest, Southeast, and Central. So there's up to, I think, 11 awards that could be given out. And I think maybe 7 is the most we've ever done. So please think about awarding leaders. If you don't tell them that you sent their name in, they don't even know that they didn't win if they don't win. I will send them a letter if they do know that you nominated them, to let them know. The deadline, I believe, Megan, is November 1st or 15th. I'll look again and send that out along with the follow-up to this meeting to make sure that people know when that is. But you have some time. Are there any questions about those awards, being that they're a little bit newer or different? And once again, you don't have to be the one. Thanks, Karen. It's November 15th. You don't have to be the one that nominates the Excellence Award winners. And you don't have to fill out every section on the award application. I think it asks for a resume. I think I got rid of that this year because I think it might be intimidating. But basically, if you just write the person's name and a brief summary of the things that they did, again, I send that out to 5 or 6 people, ask them to rank them based on their own personal criteria, and then we average the scores and give about that way. So a lot of times I'll ask educators who didn't turn anybody in. So hopefully this year I will have to ask outside sources because all of you will turn someone in. So that's all I have about state awards. I thought maybe if we want to have an opportunity, I know we did this a couple of years ago and it was pretty successful, but thinking about what's going on in your county. So some people do extra stuff for like their 9-year members or for outstanding family or outstanding member. And so this was a time for you to ask questions to each other because I don't have a lot of input in what's going on locally, but are you doing something that you think really works? Are you trying to find a new way to honor members because what you're doing currently doesn't work? are there additional awards you're giving and how are you choosing those winners? And basically, do you have any other questions related to awards or achievement for each other? So I'm just going to kind of mute my microphone. And if we don't have any discussion, we'll be done. But if we do, this is the time to ask.
I know everybody has awards and I'd love to hear them because I'm not sure. I mean, I think ours work, but it's always good to have new ideas. So please share. I'll share ours if you want. I just have to find one.
There was a request, Amber, for you to share yours from Kim, because it must sound like you must do some cool stuff, which I'm not
Well,
surprised.
I don't know if ours is any different than anybody else's. That's what I'm wondering, because sometimes I'm like, I don't know. I think other counties do some cool stuff. I always think I'd love to see your guys' script from your how you do your achievement night as well, because I use the same one year after year, and I don't know, like I don't know that it's great. But so we do not give project awards, we just give record book awards. So we recognize all the kids by club and they get so then we have so we don't do projects, we do overall record books. And then those kids we recognize the top 3 in each age division, including a first year, and we give them some extra things for that. But then if they in their record book, obviously if they're just a green, they don't really get anything, they just get their name called. If they're silver for the first 1 through 4 years in 4-H, gold and silver get something. And so each year we have a little thing of what each you get. So like the first year you get a pen and pencil set, the second year you might get a flashlight, the second year you get or third year you get a phone pop socket. Like we have something from year 1 to 11. But only 1 through 4. If you're gold and silver, you get something. And we feel by year 5 that you should know how to produce a gold record book. And so that's why we probably do ours different. I feel our kids have to work a little harder to get to gold. And that's why I was listening, because maybe we need to change it, but right now and we haven't. Anyway. So at year 5, then they get something a little bit nicer, like we do sweatshirts with their names on it, towel sets with their names on it, car sets by a year like 10, because they're off to college. So they get like a car emergency kit, those types of things that are a little bit more useful, a blanket, as like at year 8 or something, with their names on it. So we have that little system that we use. And then the one part though, so that works for us, but we took that from Sublette County a couple years ago when Robin was still here. So I don't know if Sublette County still does it that way or not, but the one part though that I'm not sure works for us is how we come about our 4-H. We have an outstanding 4-H leader and member award. Right now it's being nominated by our families and then they vote on it. And then the kids' names are actually anonymous because of popularity contest. And so then that's how we take our awards. The leaders that are those outstanding leaders, that's how then we nominate for the awards that Sarah was just talking about. So it's easy for us. We have that information. It makes it super easy. But I don't know if that's the right way to do it. I'm not sure. I think there's something different we should be doing there.
Thanks for sharing, Amber. I just want to let you know that about 2 years ago, we talked about this topic and you were talking about what you do for either as Honors Club or 9-year members. And I still remember that you give them a fillable cup for the fair. And I thought that was super awesome. And so it stuck with me for at least 2 or 3 years, because I just thought that that was kind of a cool, very personalized items that you've been doing for your members. So obviously you're doing something right if I still remember it 2 years ago. But I think just to kind of follow up on what Amber said, I think there's the opportunity to keep doing the silver, gold, and green seals the way you're doing them, but maybe you could call them, different, and then you could do a seal for the state where maybe it better aligns with these so that the achievement is different. But you could, I think you guys, if you're doing higher level awards for record books, you're more than welcome to continue them. Just maybe think about how the seals change to make sure that if a kid is doing the gold stuff, we're not just giving them a silver so they have the opportunity to get in the Honors Club. So McKenna said, last year they switched up some awards. Everyone that turns in a record book gets the same prize. Last year they did garment bags. They do 9-year member awards. so 9 years in 4-H and met the Honors Club, and they get $100 in a blanket. They do overall record, whoa, sorry, it's hard to read all this. Overall record books for each age group, and they get a lawn chair. And outstanding junior kids going into the senior categories, that would be probably 13-year-olds, get an embroidered jacket. So that's what McKenna's doing.
We're still kind of old school here. We do some record book divisions, and then we do like outstanding leadership, outstanding community service in all of the age groups, and then overall record book. And then also all the different activities, you know, the judging teams, the stuff at Showcase Showdown. Like, we do a stupid amount of awards. You can tell I'm impressed with them.
We just had that conversation this week, Mary Louise, about the necessity of Achievement Day and why it matters or doesn't matter. It was an interesting conversation for sure.
One thing I appreciate, and I don't know, Mary Louise, how long we've been doing this in Albany County, but as far as like new members and 5, 10-year member awards, we've started giving them out at the club level. And so our awards banquet is more about those kids that are doing countywide stuff. And then the club has the opportunity to honor their members at a local level too. So.
Yeah, I just hope that truly the clubs are doing it, Sarah. You know,
mine is not, but we're going to start. It's
mean,
on our agenda for November. So,
you know, I know some clubs try to, and I know that some, like, I know that they get frustrated too because people don't attend the meeting. So then they're stuck with a bunch of stuff. But I don't know. I know it's really important that members feel like they belong. So I don't know. I guess that's why I think we do Achievement Day also. I mean, it is to celebrate the achievement, but we do try to make it a celebration of everybody, whether it's just that we survived the year. But
and I don't know if this is worth the 2 cents that I'm going to give, but I think as a parent of a kid who's probably not a top record book achiever or project achiever, I appreciate that they get shirts and stuff they can wear to promote the program just for participating in Showcase Showdown or being on a judging team. I think it really helps them to show their pride in the 4-H program, even if they're not those high achieving young people. So I think sometimes the more things you can spread out, even if they're little, the helpful it is for kids who maybe aren't necessarily the ones that have the ability to be at everything or be, and they may be just doing things in their club too. So. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming today. I know this was kind of a somewhat controversial topic from the beginning, and I knew that it would be. And so I appreciate your willingness to kind of think outside the box and know that the direction we're moving probably isn't the direction that we've always been in. And I don't expect things to happen overnight, but I want to give you the tools to make sure that the kids in our counties have the opportunity to be part of the achievement program and then possibly the honors club if that's, but once again, it's not important to every kid. It's not important to every parent. And sometimes it's important to parents and not kids. And so we just need to make sure that we're very, we communicate well the process. And so that way, if members want the opportunity to be in that honors club, then in turn that they have that opportunity. So I also wrote down that I may work on on Mondays, I used to do Facebook posts. And I think I may work to make one of my Facebook posts about the Honors Club or over a couple of weeks just to talk about the achievement program so that members know how it happens and to share the information with them. Because I think that, Linda made the point that not all of us communicate the same messages. And so obviously there's only 11 of you left on here, which means there's 20 people who didn't hear the same message. And if they don't go watch it, then in turn, we're still not on the same page. And so it's a way for us to maybe help to spread the communication message. And once again, if you have circumstances in your county that you need to talk about or work through, I'm more than willing to do that at any point in time that we need to. So just last chat, it looks like here, Kim shared with us in Campbell County, they do award for Clover Buds advancing to being a first year member. They do Clover Bud record books score, honors club, and then first year leaders, ag leader, general leader, overall leader, and club of the year. So that's kind of a new one that we haven't heard before. So club of the year is kind of a cool deal. And at some point, I think we had a committee ready to start talking about some club seals to maybe get that back on the same page. And once again, I think all of this is for people who this is important to them. And so don't feel like we need to force everyone into this box. For some people, awards just aren't, they don't matter. And so we have to remember that as a competitive group of people, I think, me personally, that awards are important, but we have to remember that not everybody feels the same way that we do. So. All right, well, Karen will be sending out that email shortly with that, and I'll also send an email of this Zoom along with a couple referenced items that I had talked about, being the checklist and then maybe the link again for the Salute to Excellence Awards. And then this week, I'll also work on a general email that you can choose to send to your club leaders about the Hands to Larger Service and Health to Better Living Awards so that we can better spread that. Because I think Kim had asked me for that via Facebook, but maybe we'll do a different way too, so that way our leaders who aren't on Facebook have the opportunity to get those awards also, with a little extra reminder and a letter to them. All right, I'm going to stop recording now.